Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, brothers and sisters. I'm going to be contributing to the Why Islam project. And that question, why Islam, is a very complicated question. I think that different people are going to answer it differently, and even the same person will answer it differently periodically. That question is also very closely tied with one's identity, who they feel that they are at that point. And so if that changes, of course, the answer to the question will change. But to get down to how I feel right now, why I chose Islam, why I'm a Muslim now, there are two main things that I appreciate most in the world. That is art and intellect. And before I was Muslim, I was a musician, and it was for those two things, because of the art and the intellectual side of music. I like the thing that I really appreciate in art is complexity within subtlety, or subtlety within complexity. And that's what I really enjoyed about music, and that's what I continue to enjoy about Islam, because it's a very, very subtle religion. One of the names of Allah is the subtle. He does things subtly. He creates a subtle world for us, and he subtly reveals himself in that world, mostly in ways that are so subtle most people don't see them. The Quran is one of those is an example of that. There's a lot of subtlety in that, and I really do appreciate and understand it. The complexity that goes along with it is very important to me too. So that's the artistic side of what I appreciate most in Islam. The other thing that I appreciate in the world in general is intellect. And that's the other side of the equation. The intellectual side of Islam is extremely profound, and the complexity within the intellectual tradition of Islam is unbelievable. Through 3 years of study, and I'm by no means a scholar, but through 3 years of the study that I've been doing of Islam, I've still not even scratched the surface of the complexity of this religion. And I've read others who have begun to scratch the surface of the complexity of this religion. When you're talking about some of the Sahaba, the Prophet, peace be upon him, himself, as well as people like Rumi and Ghazali, those people have understood Islam very intimately. And when you read them, the complexity and subtlety within their understanding of Islam, within their intellect, is incredible. And I think that it's a lifetime of study easily, or more than one lifetime of study, that would reveal even part of this complexity, this intellectual complexity that I enjoy. Then the other side of it is coherency. It's very coherent. It's internally coherent, which is great. It's internally coherent in a way that I understand and appreciate, whereas many other religions that I've encountered are not as internally coherent in a way that I appreciate. So the simplicity of the basic tenet of Islam, which is La ilaha illallah, there's no God but Allah, which is just the Arabic word for God. There's a subtlety in that because of the way the Arabic works and the way that the concept works. And so I very much appreciate that intellectual side. Even the most basic principle of what makes a person eligible for paradise, which is his belief in God, is extremely subtle, extremely complex, and yet simple and easy at the same time. And if you understand Islam, if you come to understand Islam, you'll understand how that complexity works of something being so subtle, so simple, and yet so incredibly complex. The last thing that I appreciate in Islam, the last reason for Islam, is the revolutionary aspect of Islam, which I think is fundamental. It's very important. when you look at all the greatest leaders of mankind, they have all been revolutionaries. And I think that revolution is something that has to happen. Humans aren't, if you just let humans alone in a room, they're not going to behave properly. You have to bring them to a proper understanding. So that revolutionary side of things, the fight within yourself to always do the right thing, and then on top of that, always doing the right thing isn't going to be socially acceptable 90% of the time. So you're not going to be a socially accepted person, except, of course, well, even then, even in a Muslim society, you might not be accepted for being a proper Muslim. So that sense of revolution, that understanding of how the human being works, we can be good, we can be great, we can free ourselves from sin, but it's not something that is attainable through nationalistic goals. It's not something that's attainable through general sense of society, like in communism. It's not something that's attainable through someone else at all. It's just us. We have to do it, and it's up to each of us. And that sense of that revolutionary attitude that Jesus, peace be upon him, was killed for, or was crucified for, according to the Christian scriptures, it's the same revolutionary attitude. It's the same revolutionary attitude that Moses had, where you've got certain principles and certain concepts of a proper life that are generally not acceptable to humans because we do tend to sin. So those things, that other side of the intellect, the revolutionary side, understanding how humans function, is very important to me. And so when you combine those things, the art of Islam and the intellect of Islam, and within the art, if you combine the complexity, the simplicity, the subtlety, and within the intellect you combine the coherency of it, the complex, very, very intricate intellectual tradition, as well as the revolutionary attitude. That's what draws me to Islam. That's what keeps me in Islam. That's the staple. That's why.